Buenas and half a day. The Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor, Procurement, Statistics, Research, and Planning is calling this public hearing to order. The time is now 8:44 a.m., November 16, 2022. In compliance with open government law, notices were sent via email to senators, stakeholders, local media on November 8, 2022, and November 14th, 2022. I'd like to thank my colleagues that have joined me here today, Senator Tello T. Taitigui and Senator Joanne Brown. The purpose of today's public hearing is to receive testimony on Bill number 350-36 LS, sponsored by myself, Senator Sabina Flores Perez. It's an act to amend Sections 5112B and 5116A1 and add a new Section 5116E of Chapter 5, Title 16 Guam Code Annotated, and to repeal and reenact Chapter 13 of Division 2, Title 30 Guam Administrative Rules and Regulations, and approve the attached Exhibit A relative to ensuring compliance with federal mandates to the safe operations of commercial motor vehicles. The second item on the agenda today is Bill number 355-36, COR, sponsored by Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes. It's an act, excuse me, there's been a mistake. It's an act to amend Section 5007 of Chapter 5, Title 5 Guam Code Annotated relative to expanding the exemption to the policy against advance payments to the Guam Public Library. Now to begin our agenda, we will start with testimony for Bill number 350-36 LS, sponsored by myself, Senator Sabina Flores Perez, an act to amend Sections 5112B and 5116A1 and add a new Section 5116E of Chapter 5, Title 16, Guam Code Annotated, and to repeal and reenact Chapter 13 of Division 2, Title 30, Guam Administrative Rules and Regulations, and approve the attached Exhibit A relative to ensuring compliance with federal mandates to the safe operations of commercial motor vehicles. Notices were sent to Department of Revenue and Taxation and the Guam Police Department. The bill received a fiscal note waiver on November 9th from BBMR, which states that the bill is administrative in nature and poses no fiscal impact upon the funds of government of Guam. We did receive testimony from Department of Revenue and Taxation, which is here today to provide the testimony. So I would like to provide a brief introduction of the bill. Bill 350-36 is a measure that addresses the need to codify and update the Guam Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program regulations to ensure compliance with the commercial motor vehicles to current national standards in the transportation of passengers, property, and hazardous materials on Guam's roads to protect the safety of the public. It is important that the Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program regulations are updated in order to retain compliance with the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration Program so the department can maintain access to federal grants, which are in turn essential to protecting the public. The bill also authorizes the Director of Department of Revenue and Taxation to promulgate new fee and fine schedule. In the interim, it codifies the existing Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance fine schedule in 30 GAR, Section 13400. So this bill also would codify about 20 parts, some of which includes it specifies parts and accessories necessary for safe operation, inspection, repair, and maintenance of commercial vehicles, hours of service of drivers. It also covers hazardous materials, specifications for packaging, as well as transport, amongst other things. So I would like to thank Department of Revenue and Taxation for being here. And I would like to invite them to provide their testimony if they can come to the forward. And please state your name for record-keeping purposes. Oh, yeah, and the microphone, please. Yeah, thank you so much.
My name is Tim Lujan. I am the acting Motor Carrier Safety Assistance Program Coordinator, and I have a written, actually we didn't prepare a testimony. and that is because we would like time to seek legal opinion with the Attorney General's office, and along with our guidance with our Hawaii division. Hawaii division is who we report to, Guam, that is, in reference to the grant. And like the Senator mentioned earlier, there are certain things that we have to, every year we do a state certification, they call it. That's what they call it. And on that certification, it refers to the CFRs 49. And so I'm new to the program, by the way, along with one of my other colleagues that just joined here with me. So it gives me time to put this thing together and to ensure that Guam is in, compatible with the federal regulations. And I want to make sure, since I'm there, that I understand what I'm doing completely.
All right. Mr. Lujan. So we've been working together with your office, and we understand that that's really critical to have appropriate legal review of the bill. And so I just want to maybe open it up to my colleagues if they have any questions at this time. Senator Taitigui, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning to my colleagues, and definitely good morning to my dear old friend, Mr. Lujan here. Mm-hmm. How long have you been there at Rev and Tax under motor vehicle?
At the motor vehicle specifically, I was brought in February of last year, 2021.
2021, so
right.
Over a year, a little bit over a year, but
yes, ma'am.
I've known you to be an insurance person, so and well educated, so I don't think it took you very long to take grab of what you're doing right now over at Rev and Tax, and probably improving some areas, because I do know some of these compliance are regarding insurance, motor vehicle insurance. So Tim, you haven't had a chance really to discuss this bill with the federal counterparts. Is that what you were saying?
That is correct.
Okay. But maybe you can answer a couple questions I have, though, from your knowledge being there at motor vehicle. The fines and fees here that are located, that are on the bill, is this also in GAR? Is it in the GAR? Which is the Guam rules and regulations? Right.
Yeah. My understanding is that some of them are. Yeah. Okay. Some of them are and some of them are not. And that's where Hawaii has, Hawaii wants to, their understanding is that if it's in the Guam Code annotated, it carries over to GAR.
Yeah, so you're saying that some of the, because it's quite extensive. I know that the audience is not here, but yeah, it's quite a bit of fines that are here, scheduled fines. So, oh, hi, come on in. If you want to answer any of the questions that we have too, just state your name for the record. Okay. The one in the middle. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Katrina Hodges. I'm currently working under Department of Revenue and Taxation under motor carrier with Timothy Lahan.
Okay. What is your position over there?
Special Projects Coordinator.
Okay, thank you. So sometimes you refer to any of the fines that are implemented, Tim, when you're out there on the road. You can refer some of these fines in the GAR right now currently, right? And because there are new fines and fees that are here, you just want to clarify, I understand that. Do you happen to have data or information with you, Tim, regarding the number of citations which are issued annually for safety violations involving commercial vehicles?
I do not have any on hand, but I can tell you that as of February of 2019, year 2019, motor carrier has not issued one citation.
Wow, since 2019?
Yeah, there was a case that was fought. I won't mention the client's name.
Please.
And that case led to this. The judge, I don't recall the judge's name. These were things that we've basically adapted when we came on board. And there were certain things in GCA and GAR that was stated at the court hearing that caused the ticket to be dismissed, and along for the CFRs that there were certain CFRs that were not in place. And it gave motor carrier a little bit of an insight to, let's take a look at this. And Hawaii said the same thing. Please take, the word they used at court was clean your house. So there is where, that's the reason why I'd like to look and seek from the Attorney General their opinion, go item per item.
Thank you so much, and it's quite concerning. I mean, well, actually, I hope that's true, that we weren't able to, that all these vehicles that are using our roads, heavy vehicles that are using our roads are complying with the law, and that if not one citation was given since 2019, that's a good thing,
Well, I can say, I'm sorry, I can safely say that we still do have the authority. We call it out of service. And what it means is that when we do pull over a vehicle, or we inspect a vehicle at the premises, and we do find safety violations, we declare it out of service, which means they cannot take the vehicle back on the road until that particular item is completed, repaired, and confirmed back with us. So we just don't issue the citation. We just say, okay, look.
But why not? They were obviously breaking the law. Why didn't you issue a citation? I understand, giving someone a break, but this is very important. This is the safety of our people on the road, right, Tim? So
yes.
What gives you the authority to waive an individual a violation for vehicles?
Well, when we discussed this with the Honolulu branch, and when we got the word to clean house, basically we've decided to just go ahead and proceed and pull them over, issue we call an out of service violation, have it corrected, rather than issue a citation, because again, the discretion is up to the safety officer whether or not to issue a citation or not. But that particular hearing that we had on that ticket
Before that happened. Yeah.
kind of prompted us to, okay, we got to clean or check, make sure that we are in compliance with everything. And it's safe to say that it really wasn't addressed. When I got on board, I immediately looked at it, give you a little bit of an idea, it took over a year, still to this date, to put this together.
So Tim, do you have any guidelines at all that says, like, for the first offense, it's going to be a waiver, or the second offense, you're going to do the fines? Because for the, motor vehicle to have the authority to waive any violation, there should be some guidelines to allow you to do that instead of what are the fines for, right? If you're just going to let everybody go and saying, fix it and then come back and we'll let you on and we won't fine you. What's the purpose of having fines?
Right. It wasn't so much waiving the fine. It was pretty much, we still issued an out of service, violation, which means they had, we ensured to make sure that they correct it, they fix it. And then the mechanic or their office issues a report to us, inspection report that our inspectors issue it at the site. That comes back to us. Once we receive that, then we confirm that they are able to go back on the road. We have safety decals, and you've probably seen that when your car, when you renew your vehicle registration, you have the decal, the annual decal that you put on. Motor carrier has a safety decal. We remove that safety decal from the windshield when we put them out of service. And we do not put that back, we don't put a new one on until it's fixed. So we do make sure that that repair is completed before they go back on the road.
But Tim, how many of these individuals who were in violation, and you pulled them off, came back in violation a second time and a third time, knowing that they're not going to be fined, all they're going to get is a slap on the hand, and then they're, just go fix the problem and then come back? I mean, this doesn't sound right at all.
And I agree with you.
These fines should be placed, that's here for a reason. You should fine them, period. Take the safety decal off. I mean, that's an obvious,
Right.
They can't travel the road until they fix it, but they're also fined. And that's something that I think motor vehicle needs to exercise their right in doing it. And then you probably won't have any, people, continuing to commit this type of violation. So I'm going to talk to the chair about this. If there's anything in the law doesn't give you the authority to waiver any fines, it's very unfair. I mean, that person who drives a regular car, if they're in violation, we have to pay the fine, gets a ticket. They have to pay the fine.
Right.
Why are these heavy operators, of these vehicles being able to be waived on a fine? It should be fair across the board. So that's one of my biggest concerns. Yeah. Okay, so Tim, I'd have to work with the chairperson on that to make sure that doesn't happen. Do you see anything as an insurance man? I know you've been in there for decades as an insurance man. Do you see anything in this legislation that would mandate these liabilities on their vehicles to exceed the federal requirement? Because the grant is, of course, covered by federal funds, right? Your program. And I'm pretty sure there are guidelines in the federal guidelines to say how much insurance is required for each vehicle, depending on their weight and load and stuff. Is there anything in this bill that changes the requirement for insurance or adds a new amount?
I have not seen one. I need more time to
look at that, Tim,
familiarize myself.
I think there's something in here on the insurance side that might look into it. Okay. Other than that, I really appreciate you looking through this thoroughly, working with your federal counterparts before moving forward. And I'd like to see data, data on how many people you've waived, actually allowed to let go. And that data is important. And I'm pretty sure the federal government is going to require that data too, whenever you're getting any kind of grant, right, as a grant writer, right? So data is first and foremost. I also have DPW, legal counsel should also have the opportunity to look over this bill. So Tim, if you can get with DPW's legal counsel and get their 2 cents on this, I think it's going to be important. And
we
definitely, yes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, we just found out too that the DPW Highway Safety Division,
Yes.
the 2 important ladies there have retired.
Oh, really?
And there are 2 new people in there, so I've already made contact. I forget his name. The new person is Mike. Mike? Yeah. I'm so sorry. I forgot his Pobletti.
Okay.
If you remember Mike from GMH, that's Mike.
Oh, yeah, Mike Pobletti. Yeah, he's here now, right?
He's
there
at
over
DPW. He's at DPW now and at the Highway Safety. So
Yeah.
it's coincidental. We know each other.
Right.
There's also some issues that we need to clear up with reference to the data.
Right.
My understand, we have a task force, law enforcement task force that we were a part of, and that hasn't, since COVID hit, it's been, everyone's been trying to put that back together again. I can give you I can put the data together in reference to the vehicles we pull over
Right.
and we put out of service. That will give you an idea of who we didn't issue a citation to.
Right.
Now, we can get that.
Yeah.
Everything else, all the other data would have to be reached out with DPW. Yes, we do work very close with the Highway Safety Division.
Yeah, and I'd like their legal to look at this legislation too. Also, most importantly, is the motor carrier businesses on Guam. Good to get their input, the businesses that have these vehicles, to be a part of your assessment on your report. Looking forward to it, Tim, and thank you so much. And thank you so much as well, Madam, for being here too as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right, thank you, Senator Taitigui. Senator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and certainly good morning to you for coming and providing testimony on this bill. I certainly agree we just need to get more information because, my goodness, the attachment here is almost 30 pages of potential violations and fines that you could be fined if you have a commercial vehicle. I can't even imagine if I have to address this driving my own private car because it's really extensive. I mean, gosh, to have to check on all of these things.
Yes.
Are the figures that are included here in the fines, are these updated figures from any of your previous fines that were being issued, or is this existing amounts that are currently in place for fines? Do you know?
My understanding is that it is up to date. It's controlled by the Superior Court, right? So, we don't determine the fines. It's determined by traffic court. Traffic court, yeah.
The traffic court determines what the penalty fines are going to be?
That's my understanding.
How do they update them? They just say, oh, we're changing $30 to $40? What's the process?
I have no idea, Senator. I have no idea.
I think it would be helpful certainly for us to find out what the process is of determining. Normally there's a public review process with regards to increased fees and penalties and things like that. It would be helpful so that certainly also the companies that you know have these vehicles would be able to come in and provide input with regards to the amounts, because like I said, I mean, it's almost half an inch. I mean, this is the bill, and this is, I think that's pretty much, yeah, all of these pages here are the potential violations and the fines for them. And I'm just curious, it would be good to know, Madam Chair, if these are existing fines, or are we updating the amounts? If you can
So,
elaborate,
yeah,
maybe that would
sure.
be helpful.
So yeah, these are existing fines. It's been in place since 2014 and it hasn't changed.
Okay, so these amounts have been in place since 2014. Have we gotten any feedback from any of the companies that operate these trucks and other heavy equipment vehicles on the road, to get any input from them with regards to this legislation? I'm inquiring. I mean, this is Rev and Tax. Rev and Tax would not be in a position to answer that.
Okay.
Are there any
Yeah,
other
we haven't
testimony,
received
Madam
any
Chair?
testimony as of now.
Okay.
But being that DRT's position is that they want to put a pause and, you know, speak with the AG's office. So in doing this bill, it was very clear that, so the fines that we are looking at, it covers only a portion of the parts that are specified in law. And so we were thinking that if they want to implement the other parts, that they would have to then go through training themselves, have educational outreach before adopting these new parts.
I
So, yeah, we can probably prioritize the ones that that currently exist, that they're enforcing, because right now, the federal program requires that they update every 3 years at least to be in compliance.
I see.
And so this hasn't happened in a long time, I think, you know, beyond 3 years. So we need to catch up and clean up, like the motor carrier.
No, I appreciate that, Madam Chair.
exciting.
I just want to inquire with regards to these type of vehicles on the road, these commercial vehicles that are on the road versus our cars that we have to get safety check every year. Because you always notice on the side of the road, you guys are set up, you have a sign to
Yes.
detour commercial, you know, vehicles, you know, pull over to the right and the inspection occurs. Is that how we go about the process in our government of determining whether these vehicles are safe on the road? Or are they required to come in for an annual inspection? Or is it only when they're pulled over on the main road and these inspections occur? How do you get your safety check, so to speak, for your commercial vehicle versus our private vehicles that we drive on the road today?
Okay, just like any other personal or commercial vehicle, you renew your vehicle registration annually.
Okay.
And that goes through a safety inspection. And that safety inspections are not conducted by the motor carrier. That's done by a third-party vendor, the same people that we go to for our vehicles. And we do a clearance. And what we do is we make sure that that vehicle was inspected. And then we give a clearance and that will give vehicle registration the go-ahead to renew the registration.
So the same inspectors that would inspect a private vehicle are the same inspectors inspecting the commercial vehicles?
No, we only concentrate on commercial motor vehicles.
No, I understand, but
okay.
I'm talking, let's say I go and have my vehicle inspected so I can get a safety check. Okay, I can go to a private company now that provides that service.
Right.
Are they the same company that would be inspecting a commercial vehicle? Because this is an extensive list. This goes beyond checking if my wipers are working, my lights, my brake lights. You know, they're done in like 5 seconds inspecting your vehicle to make sure all those basic things are working, but this is a really extensive list. So is it the same company that would be doing the commercial vehicles with the whole list of potential violations?
That is my
I could
understanding,
have?
but there is a certain degree of inspection that they go off
Okay.
of. They don't do an intensive inspection like we do.
Okay,
Because, you know, we call it, when we go to your location,
Yes.
I'm just going to name just one of the vendors, and we call it a terminal inspection.
okay,
And we inspect it thoroughly,
okay,
from head to toe. At the same time, the drivers, when you might see some of them during the weekend, you see those trucks at Revenue and Tax in the parking lot. They go through the driver's license bureau and make sure that they know what they're doing. And
Okay.
at the same time, we have a motor carrier inspector on the site looking at safety issues of the vehicle. So the driver is also aware of what safety violations or issues that they have to address
I
as
see.
well.
okay,
And again, when it comes, the famous words that we use is out of service.
okay.
And that's, if we find it, that there's safety violations that prohibit the vehicle to be on the road, then we issue that violation. At the same time, that's the same thing we do when we're on the roadside, that's what we call it, roadside inspections. So it does, as you mentioned, it is intensive inspection. So you've seen them on the side of the road, they may be with one vehicle up to 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and sometimes you'll see a line waiting to be next.
Yes,
So it does take some time.
okay. So in addition then to an annual, they have to annually register their commercial vehicle. They also have to have a safety check attached to that in order to get it registered. And on
Correct.
top of that is the potential inspections that your division will be conducting when they could be driving down the road and they just happen to run into your street, and then you say, okay, we can pull you over and do an inspection.
That is correct.
I mean, we understand the need for it, because certainly some of the sizes of these vehicles, if your brakes are not working, for example, imagine a truck hauling a container load, the speed that it could be traveling, the impact. I think we all understand that. I just appreciate the clarification. And I do believe, Madam Chair, I'd like to have an outline of exactly how are these fees determined, if they're determined by the court. What public process, does this fee go through to determine if we're going to increase the fees or whatever the case may be? What is the public review process of that occurring? Because, like I said, this is like practically half an inch of potential fine violations that you can be cited with on your commercial vehicle. And certainly I'd be open to hearing any input any of the private companies that own these commercial vehicles have in providing input with regards to the legislation before us. So with that, hopefully that can be addressed before this bill moves forward. But thank you so much for taking the time to come in and provide
Thank you,
testimony in response to my questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Brown. Yeah, and so that's what part of what this bill does. It sort of, it actually authorizes, so currently in law, it doesn't say anything about the director authorized to promulgate the regulations, so it clarifies that process. So if anything, that could be one of the things that we can move forward with versus, the other parts as far as the regulations go. I think those definitely need to be combed through very clear, and pick out the ones that really apply. And just, there's a lot of clarifications that are needed with the regulations, I think. But currently in law, what it says is the fine schedules in Title 16, Chapter 5. It says fine schedules of the Superior Court of Guam and the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance basically are adopted pursuant to the fines and fees as applicable to Guam. So it definitely needs fixing, I think, in law. So they have to be promulgated accordingly to the administrative adjudication law, I believe. So if anything, that's something that we can move forward with. to ensure that it's properly vetted by the public, and that, yeah, that we have a local process, a due process that takes place. But again, yeah, this bill was created as, you know, the oversight of motor carriers said that, you know, that's something that was brought to the attention of DRT, that we need to clean up the regulations, clean up the law. It's been in existence for some time, and in order to stay in compliance, and more importantly, to protect the public safety. It's critical, especially when we're seeing more and more transportation occurring on our roadways, and you know, particularly hazardous materials. I mean, that's something that is of concern, and we need to ensure that our public is made safe. So thank you so much. Thank you to my colleagues for their questions, and thank you to the Department of Revenue and Taxation for being here and for all your work. Thank you. So this bill has been duly heard, but we look forward to working with you really closely and quickly, because I think these regs need to be really put in place. We need to expedite these as quickly as possible, of course, with the public being aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Perez. Thank you, Senator Teitigli. Thank you, Senator Brown.
Okay, have a good day. Yep. All right, so we're going to move on to the next item of the agenda. It's Bill number 355-36, COR, sponsored by Vice Speaker Tina Rose Mooney Barnes. It's an act to amend Section 5007 of Chapter 5, Title 5, Guam Code Annotated, relative to expanding the exemption to the policy against advance of payment to the Guam Public Library. Notices were sent to Department of Administration, the General Service Agency, and the Guam Public Library. Fiscal note was received November 9th from BBMR and states that the bill is administrative in nature and poses no fiscal impact upon the funds of government of Guam. So we did receive a written testimony from Chief Procurement Officer Claudia Fadzi in support of the bill. And we also have written testimony from various members of the Guam Public Library system. We have the director to provide testimony. So if you guys, anyone who wants to provide testimony, if you can come forward to the mic, and we'll recognize you in accordance with the sign-up sheet.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Senator Tello, Senator Brown. I'm thankful for the opportunity you have given us to express some of the concern we have for the library. First of all, I also sent a written testimony supporting the bill, and I would like to read some of these, and then I will elaborate some of the things that I have here. First of all, I wanted to read the last paragraph. It is a half-a-day chairperson, Sabina Flores Perez. I am attaching a copy of the purchase order dated March 2021 for the amount of $9,356.96 to a local vendor. I just want to go on record that my intention is not criticize the vendor here, and as a former businessman, I know what it takes to run a business, having all kind of overheads and so forth. So it's not my point to point out the price of the book, and so I am continuing the testimony. The average price for the book is $73.67. I am bringing it to your attention so that you will know the exact predicament the library is in. Guam Public Library System, GPLS, is unable to purchase books from the publisher or from the representative of the publisher in the mainland, for they will not ship the order to GPLS unless we make the advance payment. Because of this reason, our library has had a great difficulty in purchasing books from mainland vendors. The existing procurement law does not allow Guam Public Library System to make advance payments. Thus, we have not been able to secure order from the mainland vendors. Bill 35536 COR, if passed, will enable Guam Public Library System greater flexibility to purchase resources. We ask the Senator to pass the bill number 355-36 COR so the Guam Public Library System will provide the kind of library service that the community of Guam deserves. Further, I would like to also say that the root of the problem, we've been wondering why our library is not securing current or up-to-date resources. This is one of the reasons. One side, we have to meet the requirement of the vendors. The other side, we cannot simply make the requirement because the law does not allow us to make advance payment for the vendor. The reason that we go to the local vendors is because they give us 30 days. So all the local vendors will be given 30 days to get their payment. So it is easier for us to go to the local vendors. However, it is very unfortunate that there are not many local vendors dealing with books on a wholesale price. This particular vendor is in business for retail purpose, not for wholesale purpose. Now, the same books that we buy from the vendors, local vendors, if we buy it from a wholesale vendors from the mainland, maybe it's $20, $25. And they will have the current materials, but our hands are tied. We will not be able to do anything. That is the main reason that the library is not able to purchase books from the mainland vendors because of the requirements. So those are some of the things that's the root of the problem. Now, if you look at the recent purchases in our library, I haven't seen any of the vendors from the mainland, well-known vendors for public libraries, is not there. We simply do not have a record or list of the vendors that they usually supply books to the mainland libraries. So those are the things the challenges that I have. Now recently, one of our local residents left a will. That is about quite a bit of money. But under the circumstances, we will not be able to fulfill his wish. The wish is that we use that money for the collection. And we cannot update any of the collection based on the local law. So that is one of the challenges. Then we, like I said earlier, we have close to $350,000 to $400,000 in our accounts, in meaning that grant money, we should be able, those are set aside just for collection updates. But we cannot, because unless we change this law, so that we should be able to purchase these books meeting the requirements of the off-island vendors. So I ask our leaders to consider this and include our name along with UOG, DOE, and GCC so that we will be able to make advance payment to the vendors. That's all.
Okay, thank you. If you don't mind, Director, if you just remain while we get more testimony. Mrs. Affleck, are you interested in providing any oral testimony today? Or anybody else? Okay. If you could please
morning.
state your name
My
before
name
you
is,
begin.
Okay. Good morning. My name is June Affleck, and I'm the administrative officer for the Guam Public Library System. I am submitting my testimony of support for Bill number 355-36 COR, an act to amend subsection 5007 of Chapter 5, Title 5 of the Guam Code Annotated relative to expanding the exemption to the policy against advance payments to GPLS. Working at GPLS for almost 18 years, I have witnessed firsthand the many challenges as I was actively involved in every single procurement transaction for all of the department's needs. Unfortunately, those challenges continue to exist today. Guam's procurement law that was put in place more than 20 years ago needs to be modernized, simplified, and made completely clear and transparent. One of those challenges GPLS continues to face is either a limited supply of vendors or none at all on island to procure library books or even basic library supplies, eventually forcing the department to look to off-island vendors. Oftentimes faced with an even bigger obstacle when the off-island vendor requires advance payment. Provided all parties involved in any negotiations with GPLS act in good faith and, more importantly, adhere to the rules and regulations of the Guam procurement law, I am in full support of the passage of Bill 355-36. This exemption policy against advance payments will allow greater flexibility for GPLS to expand and increase its collections and services to where it should be today in the 21st century, and more importantly, to what our community deserves. Thank you.
All right, thank you for being here and providing your testimony, Mrs. Aflaque. So in speaking with you prior to the introduction of this bill, it was very clear to me that what your initiatives are to really modernize the library, and that it was very clear that the challenges were were preventing that from happening. And so I think that, in looking at the bill is very simple, right? It basically adds Guam Public Library System to allowing you to do advance payments. But I think maybe I think I was thinking maybe amending it so it's specific to books and, those type of services and not just to everything, right? So that's the thing that you need most importantly. So that's something I would like to maybe add in there to ensure that it's specific to that. But perhaps for the greater audience, I don't know if the audience knows about your modernization initiatives. So right now, currently, the vendor that's in place, it seems like it's nickel and diming you, the library, to really move forward. And by opening this up, it would allow the library to really avail of many different services. Can you explain, at least for the public to hear about, what are some of those initiatives that you have in mind? Because I think, in Guam, that's another initiative is literacy, right? So I think what your service would do, or what modernization of the library would do, it would really, promote that. So if you can speak to some of the initiatives.
Happy to, Ms. Chairman. First of all, the folks who travel to the mainland and they see the library, the kind of services that the libraries in the mainland provide. When they come back, first question, where are the e-books? You don't have e-books, okay? We have been struggling to get the e-books. We got a grant for $130,000. And we wanted to update with e-books, with the app. It's included in the grant. And it is, we have some challenges securing that purchase order. And because of some of the technical issues, that's one main reason that GSA would like us to deal with the resources. So that's the e-books is the main. The second one is the audiobooks. Audiobooks are also getting very popular. People can play the book while they are driving. while they're doing other things, and it is getting very popular in the mainland. So if you look at the services compared to the mainland libraries, we are not even serving in terms of electronic and so forth, not even 5% in the libraries. We don't have that. I was a librarian for John F. Kennedy High School. I played a major role. I was the instrumental of getting the software for the 41 libraries and e-books. Today, those libraries are way ahead of our public library. And I came to public library, I wanted to change. I am determined to do the kind of services that I want to provide, the kind of services that our people deserve, which we are not providing. So that is one of the things that I'm here to get this off the ground and do the kind of services our people deserve. That's our main reason. Now, if you look at the structure of the libraries, also that we are planning to renovate our public library here, main library, name is Flores Memorial Library. We wanted to renovate so that it will accommodate people. Now, we have people coming last year. I've been there a year. We have expanded involving the communities. Now, people come from all walks of life and then use our platform. We have a room that accommodates 41 people. So we have people coming from the university, from the libraries, from all walks of life. Like last night, we had people from Guam Memorial Hospital from health education program. So we had to, I myself stayed up to 6 o'clock so that they will finish their program. They were training the school teachers to train, to provide the services to those who are suffering from diabetes. So they were there. And then we have the librarians have their meetings every month. So our rooms are, we are limited. We have only one room that can hold 41 people. So one of the goals of the renovation is to provide, at least accommodate 80 to 90 people. With a divider in between, they can use. So, and we want to do a lot of things, and we wanted to use that the donation. We wanted to use that donation to expand the library capabilities in terms of accommodating and so forth, and in his name. So those are the things that that we want to do. That we have a story hour. There's a company called MTDI, Micronesian Technical Development Institute. They got a grant, and they bring the kids who are not meeting the school requirement in terms of school works and things like that. They bring the kids on Wednesday to our main library, and also they go to the Dedido library on Tuesday, and they help them to finish their schoolwork. So these are the things that our public involvement, other than providing the resources, we are providing platforms so that they can come there and take advantage of it. Remember, this is a public library, public institution, and we wanted to help as much as we can. So that is getting popular. In fact, some days, some people want to use the room, but it's all, by first come, first service, and it's being reserved, and it's being provided well to the folks who want to use the rooms.
Yeah, thank you so much, Director. And I know you also talked about that there's some services where students can actually download a textbook. So that's something the library can provide, and maybe there could be some synergistic relationships with the Department of Education in regards to promoting literacy and
Yes.
even
Yes.
lowering the cost too, potentially.
Yes, in fact, we have a meeting this coming week on Tuesday at your office, and we are doing everything to promote literacy. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to place, we call it mini libraries, for 30 mini libraries from the housing areas. It's getting very popular in the mainland. We put like about 25 to 30 books, And the student and the children can go there and collect the book and then read it and then put it back. And it's getting so small library like this size, maybe about 1.5 feet length and about 40 inches height. And then these books are going to be there. And nobody's going to say, bring the book or anything like that. It gives a kind of sense of responsibility. So the children take the book, finish reading, and then they put it back and get a new book. And that's one of the things that we are planning to do. And also we work with other groups to promote the literacy, like the school librarians, and we work with them very closely. Anything that they have in their mind, they want to plan, we give the, we collaborate with them. So that's one of our goals, is to promote the literacy.
That's wonderful, wonderful news. Thank you so much. Ms. Safakui, did you want to add anything to that? No? Okay. All right, thank you. And so I do want to also state for the record, we did get a sponsor's statement. So Vice Speaker, if I could read it into the record. Buenas and Hafa, thank you, Madam Chair, for hearing Bill number 355-36 COR, an act to amend Section 5007 of Chapter 5, Title 5, Guam Code Annotated, relative to expanding the exemption to the policy against advance payments to the Guam Public Library. The bill was introduced alongside another bill, Bill number 354-36, which gives the library greater discretion to enhance services for patrons. In working with the Director of the Library, Ms. Chris Seringen, Bill number 355-36 was drafted to give the library greater flexibility to acquire tools they need as expeditiously as possible. As you know, libraries play an important role in our community, providing safe access to information in addition to peer-reviewed papers and journals. It's important that our libraries stay up to date with the latest books, journals, and research databases. We authored this bill to allow our library the ability to continuously improve and adapt to changes in technology and information as quickly as possible. I would like to thank the board members as well as the Director of Guam Public Library System for proactively looking into ways to improve service to the libraries in Guam for all that use it. Thank you, and I ask my colleagues for their favorable support on Bill number 355-36. And so the other testimony that I'll read into the record is from Chief Procurement Officer Claudia Kvaji. Dear Vice Speaker Barnes, we are in receipt of the two proposed legislations that would assist the Guam Public Library in its mission to serve the people of Guam. The first allowing for the acquisition of books, e-books, newsletters, audiobooks, digital publications, newsletters, software, and other publications that would help bring the Guam Public Library system up to date with other libraries in the United States in serving the community. The second proposed bill would allow for the reality of acquiring these items in a timely fashion by authorizing advance payment, which has been a problem for the library in the past. We wholeheartedly support both bills and hope that the Guam legislature does too. Sincerely, Claudia Kvaji, Chief Procurement Officer. Okay, so I'd like to now open the floor to my colleagues. Senator Taitigwe, if you have any questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you again. It's good to see you again. We went through the other bill and now this one. You know, I really don't see an issue with this, considering in 1983, this actually gave an exemption to certain other government agencies, well, not agencies, the University of Guam, GCC, as well as the Guam Memorial Hospital, but only on the pharmaceutical perspective, you know, to have that exemption. And I do realize, you know, it's very difficult for you to obtain these books at a decent price, wholesale, and we do realize that companies off island don't have a PO with, with government of Guam, so I do understand your predicament, and I have no issues with this bill at all, but transparency is most important, though. Whatever you do on any kind of purchase, everything has to be followed to a T, and the cost and everything like that. So I hope you continue to exercise the, providing quotes, at least having that 2 to 3 quotes, before making any kind of purchases in the state. So thank you so much.
There's a correction, Senator Tello. Nowadays, we are requiring 6 price codes. For an example, we tried to upgrade our elevator, and there are 3 companies on Guam serving the elevators. But we asked how many quotes we got? We've been trying to get price quotation to just maintaining the maintenance for the elevator. So we just had to stop using it unless we really get the clearance from these companies that it is safe. So now the new law, public law that was passed recently requires 6 price quotation.
So actually,
How can-
that's incorrect. There's only 3. So in law, it only requires 3 quotes, never 6.
It's a directive from GSA.
So yeah, I don't know how the
It's not-
circular,
The law clearly states that they only require 3. But
So,
the
yeah,
directive is internal.
I know that's
I was
against.
told 6 price quotations.
Yeah,
So
it's correct. It is 6, but it's a directive from GSA procurement.
Yeah, I did hear that the CPO was requesting 6 quotes, although the law only requires 3.
Correct. Right. The law
So
only requires 3.
statutorily, 3 is required,
I
not
guess I
6.
was misinformed. Sorry about that.
But I guess, the point is, of course, we want to find out who the qualified vendors are, because the idea is that the more competition, the lower the costs. But the law basically mandates 3, yeah.
See. Thank you for the correction.
Okay, thank you, Senator Tadegui. Senator Brown?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and certainly thank you to our Director, Serengen. Do I pronounce your name properly?
Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you
you
for
did.
coming and
Thank you.
providing your testimony. I think we understand the challenge. I mean, you indicate here in your testimony it's cost about, what, $73.67 to purchase a book? This is through the local procurement process where you're not allowed to do advance payment?
Yes.
And what on average would that book cost if you were directly able to do an advance payment and purchase this off island?
Well, these folks are well known for providing books and resources specifically for public libraries. I've been to the many shows. I've been attending the school library conferences, except the last one. And when I went to the public library show, I found quite a few vendors. They deal only with public libraries. When you compare from the retail price to their wholesale prices, we're talking about, if it is $70, we can get it like $23, $21 like that.
So you could get it between $23 to $21 versus the current
Yes,
system
yes.
of up to $73 for the
Yes,
same.
but I'm not criticizing for getting the price that much, because I know what it takes to run a business. I'm not here because they have to pay tax, they have to pay employees and rent and so forth. So I'm not here to say anything about their price methods, and it is that's if we have this the law passed, we should be able to go directly and deal with the vendors.
Well, I mean, I appreciate a business too, but wow, $50 markup for a book is quite substantial. I think we'd all agree a $50 markup would be. I'm not surprised. I mean, I agree the procurement system does need to be looked at. I remember a situation when, we think the current system somehow is giving us the best price, and that's not always the case. We had a situation when I was at the port, and because of a fire, we had to move all our documents out of the building so the building could be refurbished and parts of it rebuilt. And we had to procure the cardboard boxes to take all these documents, standard legal size boxes, to move out the documents so we're not harmed. And a box that would cost maybe on average $4 through GSA, just to simply have the words property of the government of Guam on the very same standard cardboard box, cost about $20.
Wow.
So it does make you wonder whether our procurement system, the way it's set up, actually is beneficial to our taxpayers with the amount extra that we're having to pay. Of course, I understand the desire also to try to encourage local procurement and, supporting local businesses as well. But again, it's a question of within reason, what percentage are we paying versus are we being charged an excessive amount because we almost have no other opportunity except to go through the existing government system, which does not give us and does not give the taxpayers of Guam the best price for what they're procuring. So I totally understand the concern that you're bringing. I have no issue with this bill. Again, as you mentioned, ensuring that we go through the proper transparency and procurement process so that you outline that you are indeed getting the best price for what you are purchasing, and also to facilitate. And certainly in our modern day with our capabilities now, we do need to update the system, because it almost makes it impossible, if not incredibly difficult, for the government to procure the things that it needs to actually operate. And then the government gets criticized because you're behind the times, you're not up to date, you're not moving according to the expectations. And a lot of it sometimes has to do with what is almost a bottleneck at procurement that doesn't seem to want to facilitate procuring or making it easier for us to get the things we need, and yet ensuring that we're getting at the best price and that we're making sure the public funds are appropriately spent. So I certainly have no problem. I think we look forward to the additional improvements that you're going to be able to add to the library by having this change put in place, and the resources that will be available to our children and to the community that we currently don't have now because of this. So I certainly am very supportive of this bill. And thank you for coming and outlining and explaining to us very much the need for it, especially the price difference. That really limits, no matter how much, be it grant funding or your local funding that you're being provided, that really limits the amount of books and other resources you're able to procure if you have to pay such an incredibly high price. For what you can get at a better price and access, and be able to get more materials for the library. So thank you very much for coming and providing us the insight in your testimony, and certainly, Madam Chair, I'm sure we'd be all very supportive of passing this bill into law. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Senator.
Thank you, Senator Brown. So the committee will continue to receive written testimony until 4 p.m. Monday, November 21st, 2022. Please address testimony to Senator Sabina Flores Perez, Chairperson of the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor, Procurement, Statistics, Research, and Planning. It can be dropped off at the mailboxes here at the Guam Legislature Building, or emailed to office@senatorperez.org. So being that there are no further testimonies, the Committee on Environment, Revenue and Taxation, Labor, Procurement, Statistics, Research, and Planning will now adjourn this hearing. The time is now 9:46 a.m. And thank you so much for being here. Stios Masi.